my friend, it's Pat Sloan here. So it's Thursday and it's just kind of a bunch of different things, including a tip on how I match some fabrics for a piece of the sashing on Grandma's Kitchen. First, it is sibling day. So if you have a quilt that you've made for one of your siblings, brothers or sisters, share it. Share it today over at Quilt Along with Pat Sloan. Also, I put up the pear quilt. Where can I sit that you can see it better? Like this. I'll move my chair. I'll just move out of the way. There you go. You can see the pear quilt. I hung it up behind me because I am going to put it here on this wall on the left of me over here, which you never see anymore. That used to be behind me when I was on the back side of the table. But now I usually film on the back side, which is my computer side. So anyways, the room's all changed, but you rarely ever see that one. I see that wall when I come down my hallway. And so I am going to switch it out to the pears because it's been finished and I really want to enjoy it. It is also safety pin day, and we use safety pins in quilting for basting a lot. You might also pin your fabrics together or pin a note onto things. So safety pins are one of our tools. Now it's also scavenger hunt day, and that's my made up day. Once a month, I give you an assignment of what to share a picture of, or which will be at Quilt Along with Pat Sloan at Facebook. But if you don't want to be there, you can just leave a comment here at YouTube and tell me about your scavenger hunt item. So I picked today a sewing box, basket, something that you keep things in that you might use in another room, like maybe you have it in a living room, or you take it, maybe you have it in one room and you bring it to another. Some sort of a sewing basket. Now, I don't really have one of those. I have a few things that I take on travel, but I've always wanted one of those gorgeous standing ones. They look a lot like this, which is a small one that I bought because it's red, but it was marketed as a children's sewing box. So it opens like this, but you've seen the ones like this that are bigger, that have beautiful legs on them, and they are freestanding. I've always wanted one of those, and occasionally I go out on Etsy because people make them. They're wood. This one's wood. And people make them, and occasionally I go out there and think, oh, I should just treat myself and get one of those someday. Someday I will. So this is my, I don't use it, I just decorate with it. But I'd like to see your baskets because I know a lot of you have a gorgeous basket. It may have been passed down in your family or you've purchased it. Some of them are those padded, like with fabric baskets that are pretty common, and you have units in there. I mean, I had a Tupperware one, a small Tupperware one years ago, and I have one that I had as a kid. But as an adult, I haven't had the kind of a really, I like pretty things. I just want them to look nice. So yeah, I haven't had one of those lately. A couple of you asked about the 100 blocks. I think I'm going to reboot that on Tuesday finally and get going, see where I'm at, go cut a bunch more blocks. So I think that'll be tackle it Tuesday. Now I have a little couple clips here. I was matching some of the pieces for the sashing of Grandma's Kitchen, and I want to show you how and why I made some decisions on where I did the match. Let's take a look. To match these two, what I will do is fold one of them to a spot and then, line it up. But one of the things I want to show you is, at first I thought, let me just fold it right on the center of this. Doesn't that make sense? We'll fold it on the center. And hold on one second. So when I'm folding it on the center, I'm actually trying to split then these little pink diamonds. See these little pink diamonds? And that's tedious, because that means then I am trying to match this up so that those little diamonds make a real thing and don't get a little wonky. So I need to help myself. This is not the place to fold it. We're going to fold it where there's mostly white, which is right behind those diamonds. There's white and there's white. That is our easiest place to match up. That is the most forgiving. So let me just fold that. There you can see my seam, and let's see how it turned out. Ta-da! Ah, that is really good. So I'm going to press it, and I am happy with that. That matching stuff can be really easy, particularly when you make that fold first and lay it down to audition where you want to be, use your glue stick, and it can be, it's really more about your cutting, be sure you cut it in the right place. You just kind of reverse that. You take the first piece that you were cut and find, where its identical place is to do the second strip. All right, I had a little thought the other day. Greg and I were chatting about something, and I thought, oh, I'm going to tell you about this. And it's kind of under quilting news. Let's take a look at that, and then I have some other quilting news. Greg and I were sitting and having some coffee together. We like to do that, to sit and talk about different things. All kinds of topics come up. We might think about something, and because we have our phones, we'll just sort of pull it up and research it, or look up information. And we were talking a bit about ecology and being mindful of resources we use, and that kind of went to like, well, when I met you, I didn't really know anybody who did a lot of that before I met him, which was back in 1976. And I said that he had these books that I kind of remembered, but I couldn't remember the name of them. So I was trying to describe them, and Greg was like, he thought it was the Eric Sloan books, which being Sloan, their family, and Eric Sloan was an artist. Greg has a younger brother named Eric. But I said, no, it wasn't the Eric Sloan books. It was something else. I said it was about ecology and self-sufficiency. And he's like, there were some history books. And I said, I don't remember the history. So finally I thought, I Googled 1970s, 1970s books on self-sufficiency. And then just looked at the images, and then up it popped was Foxfire. And it's, okay, I have to remember not to say Firefox. Firefox is a browser. Foxfire. And Foxfire was a series of books. And then we went and read all the history on them. And he's like, oh, yeah, I remember those now. As soon as I saw the cover of the book, I knew that was a book that I was talking about. And he had a couple of them. They actually started as a magazine. And the history of it is fascinating. It was a school project, a high school project. A high school teacher in Georgia in 1966 asked them what would make school more interesting. This is from their website, which is, they have a museum now, and you can go there. They still do the articles. They have a podcast. But anyways, he asked the students what would make life more interesting, school more interesting. They decided that they wanted to do a magazine telling the stories of the Appalachian people, basically starting with their families, talking about how they do self-sufficiency and different things like that. And it just expanded tremendously. 8 years later, they made enough money on their royalties to buy some property, which they put a museum. And the reason I looked at their website originally was because Greg says, well, they probably had stories about quilts in there. So I went Foxfire Quilts, and that came up with a page on their website where they have 15 or so quilts in the museum and list all of them. In the description box and the pinned comment here at YouTube, I will put a link to both of those. Let me just show you a couple pictures here. I thought it'd be fun just to show you the website. Here are some of the books. These are not the covers that I remember. The covers I remember look like this one here. That's how I remember them. But you've got, wait, I'll come back to that. So here is the quilt page, which I linked in the description box. See, this got read more, so you can go and read more about the friendship quilt, and then they have an article at their website, which probably is the story. Oh, look, there's an audio. I haven't looked at the page. It's the first time I've looked at it. So they give you a little bit about the quilt, and then probably the oral history. So fun. You can see, like, at the museum shop, they have some of the magazines, because it is still being produced. So there's issue 2022, issues, what's like the most recent here is 2023, so I don't know if they're still producing them or they just didn't have any extras. And you can visit them, plan your visit out to the museum, and they have classes. It's just such a cool concept. This is in Georgia, so if you are in or around the Georgia area, and then they have the podcast, which I'm going to listen to some of the podcasts. I think that'll be kind of fun. And they are, where are they at in Georgia? Somewhere in Mountain City, Georgia. So there's just a little peek, and then like I said, you can download, and apparently you can download several of the books and read them as PDFs for free. But Aunt Ari appears to be quite a character, and on the next page here she is, when they were interviewing her, which she was a little bit older. Yep, lived out of her own in this home, and this is just the stories about her. Okay, I thought that would be fun to show you. Really, really fun to sit and chat with someone, whether it's a friend or a spouse, a neighbor, somebody at work, that you start sort of going on these little tangents that take you to explore and learn about something that you may have forgotten about or never knew a lot about. I really love sort of taking a little bit of a deep dive into learning some history. So let me know in the comments here if you do that kind of a thing, if you enjoy going out and learning something, hearing about something, and then just going to learn a little bit more in depth about it. I would love to hear. Are any of you familiar with those Foxfire books, magazine, been to their museum? I would love to hear if you also know about Foxfire. Leave it in the comments here. Tell me about it. If you're over at Facebook, you can do something there in the fireside chat. Okay, so other quilting news. Our friend Bev sent me a note that, okay, I got to get this here. It is at the Southwest Virginia Museum, which is in Big Stone Gap. Let me just put a picture up. Big Stone Gap, Virginia, down near the Kentucky and North Carolina border. So it's like hours and hours away from me. But they're running a quilt exhibit. Here is their Facebook page on it. So you can get a little bit of info. You can go out to the link that I give you for their website. And the Virginia Quilt Museum in Dayton, Virginia, which is right off the highway. It's very near Harrisonburg where they were before. Their anniversary, 30-year anniversary, is in August. So I'm linking you below to the page for that event that they're doing that day. They also have a lot of other events. They have classes, and they have virtual things that they do so that you can be involved. But I also want to show you how to look at their exhibits online, because they have a cool virtual exhibit. I'm not going to actually show you that, but I'll show you where it is. Let's take a look. When you come to the Virginia Quilt Museum exhibit page, which is right here, you can see that they have the exhibits and their start and end dates, and you can go through and, let's say, just like the Log Cabin Fever, and it'll give you a bit about the exhibit, show you a few of the quilts that are hanging in the exhibit. And they have a few fun things, like when you click this one, there is a virtual, meaning it's an online, and they've got it like displayed in a room. It's very cool. You come and look at it yourself. I'm not going to spoil it for you. Then, like, here's this one. Like, the quilt's a little hard to see in this tinier picture, but you click through, and it is so amazing. Look at that. Oh my gosh. How cool is that? And then a few other quilts by this artist, Barbara Hollinger. And they all have the start and end dates of the exhibit. This is where one of my pieces will be, the 30th anniversary exhibit, which the 30th anniversary is in August. So you can come through and see what's in later in the year. So you might be coming in the area and be able to join in on some of them. As of right now, I plan to be at the museum for their 30th anniversary day, since I have a piece hanging there, and it's always more fun when there's a lot of people who come down. So I should be there in the morning for that day. You know, it's in August, so who knows? By the time that comes around, my schedule might prohibit it, but as of right now, I'm planning to be there. Now I promised to show you I think I did. I think I told you this the other day that I was going to redo the dining room only with some Easter things. And so I did that, and I'm giving you a little close-up look on some of the items. Let's take a little look. I only did the dining room for Easter because I had already had to switch stuff over there for Quilt Folk, and I don't feel like switching that out just for a short period. So anyway, here is a quilt from my tabletopper book, and you'll recognize it as a block that we've done before. I thought the purples went really well for spring. In here, I just want to show you a lot of details today. This bunny was made by a friend of mine's mother, and it's a Peter Rabbit. It's a little Peter Rabbit. She did these Peter Rabbits, and I believe she also did the lettuce. I bought those from her. Aren't they precious? And then I have got a little collection of Peeps and bunnies. The black and white bunny is my all-time fave. Okay, now I have Miss Ginger in here. We're just leaving her, so we work around her at the moment. She's massive. I have this awesome strawberry that I got at a quilt show. It's made from a bedspread, you know, those chenille bedspreads, and then dyed. And then also this is like kind of that like lacy stuff that you can purchase, and they dyed that. They're the leaves. Then here are these shakers that I showed you, the strawberry shakers. My girlfriend Jane, who lives in Australia, sent this beautiful bunny trinket tray to me. I made this bunny years ago. Here's some little, I don't think they're salt and pepper shakers. No, they're just little figurines that I just adore. They're tiny. Now, this is fake. That's the orchid, my first orchid that's just refuses to make another bloom. And so my friend Suzanne said, well, maybe you can just get a faux flower to put in there. So I thought, brilliant. There's Suzanne. I did it. I don't know that I've ever showed you. It hasn't been there that long. These things are kind of up there. I actually should hang that sign, but just some things up there. Then I decided to light the mushroom tree, which just blows you out entirely, doesn't it, on camera? But it's so pretty and sparkly. I had, for the Quilt Folk people, hung my original farmer's market that I did to honor my granny. You know, we're doing Grandma's Kitchen, so I just thought it was appropriate to hang the original one, which is so fun because I used all these fun fabrics, and it feels very, very spring. The one that I put in the book is reds, you know, more Americana feel, red and navies. So I just thought this would be great for spring. And I have these bunnies, which were my grandma's. So these are old bunnies that I've had. Okay, if any of you follow, you know, I'm sure that they're just not very expensive. I added a peep on here. Look. And some eggs that I collected years ago. These were Dove chocolate eggs. Like for 2 years or something, they did these pretty metal eggs. And then they stopped doing them in pretty metal eggs. But they're gorgeous. Okay, I want to talk about the bunny quilt. I made this in 1997, before I was in business. It is hand blanket stitched. You can see it really well on here, all hand blanket stitched, all the flowers. And I want to show you the border. There's 2 different prints. See that? This is a more open one. I didn't have enough apparently, and I did an angled right here so that it just kind of blend nicely, and I did the same thing on that side. And on the other corner, see, angled. So if you've got 2 prints that are kind of similar, that's a really fun way to use both of them, particularly if maybe you don't have enough of either one, or you just want the look of that. I did the same thing on the inner border, but switched it a bit. So the denser floral is on this side, and the other denser floral is on that side. Now, the one thing that always tiny bit bugs me is that paler bunny, because I made this before I was doing quilts to be photographed, and so, you know, up close and personal, it's still fairly pale considering like how dark the ears and the tail are. They're purple, dark purple. So it should have been now I would redo that as a little bit darker bunny. The pattern, I'm not sure who did it. It was probably either Jan Patek or Linda Brannick. I can't be positive. You might check, Linda Brannick passed away quite a few years ago. You might check Jan Patek's website and see if she has a bunny. It might be there or something similar. Very sweet, right? Okay, so this is what I'm enjoying for Easter. I do think I need a bit more Easter candy. The Easter Bunny needs to leave a few more things there, like a coconut egg. I think a coconut egg would be good. All right, thanks for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed that. It's so fun to switch them out and take a look at things that I haven't looked at for a long time, like the little Peter Rabbit that my friend's mom made. She just did such exquisite work, so tiny. So she liked making miniatures. Can you tell? Can you tell? Actually, I think my friend made the lettuce. I thought about that a little bit more. I think she made the lettuce at the time to go with the little Peter Rabbit. So fun. All right, my friend. So I'm excited. Going to get this up so that I can enjoy it whenever I come in and out of the house. I'll see it. It's going to have the camera sitting in front of it, but that's the way life is here in the Sloan Zone. All right, my friend. I love you. Mwah. Thank you for being here in the Sloan Zone. I will see you online.